This is the new 911 Cup, a 520 horsepower flat six purpose-built race car. Redline, nearly 9,000 RPM. Put 20 of them together, you get Carrera Cup, one of the longest running international race series on the planet. Every driver gets the same car, same engine, same aero, and in America, the same Pirelli tire. Modifications, not allowed. So when the green flag drops, there's nowhere to hide. It comes down to the driver. Have racecraft? Good, you're gonna need it. For 30 years, this series has tested the best drivers around the globe. Nailing a lap in one of these, there is no substitute.
This is iRacing.
When we began racing, we started with a question. Can a dream become a legacy? Across endless nights, relentless rain, competition that never slows. Through every failure, every win, every single race, we've asked ourselves, can a dream become a legacy? And 75 years later, the answer is clear. Because we weren't built for racing, we were born for it.
Our champion may have been decided, but there are 2 remaining spots available for advancing to the regional qualifiers in the Porsche Esports Super Cup. After 5 rounds, the many hopefuls have been whittled down to a mere 6 drivers still able to stay above the cut line. Now Georgia gets to decide who stays and who goes for the season finale of the Porsche Esports Carrera Cup in North America. Before we see how that plays out, let's take a quick moment to step back to Indianapolis to see how some of the dramatic turns in this fight unfolded. Green flag is out, and yeah, look at this. One of the commando cars, Xander Reed, with a huge jump, making it 3 wide coming down into turn 1. In fact, he's going to look past that second spot. He's looking potentially maybe for first on his teammate as they hit the brakes. Look at them fan out 4 wide in the middle of the pack. I'll be amazed if we get through this without incident.
This is Leonardo Dragotta, though, running into trouble. As you can see, he's wide as he moves on through, and then he just gets absolutely mown over as here comes Christian Muniz, who will look to try and get 12th here and get an extra point over Dalton Zavadil. Does so around the outside.
Xander Reed looking to the inside, battle for the lead. We haven't seen this all race long. He is going to be able to sneak through. Mitchell a little bit vulnerable to Aiden as we see another change for the lead. Reed versus De Jong. Reed will stay in front for now, Jake. Again, they're not holding back, these 2.
Trying to get this pass sorted, lunges down on the brakes, and again he tries to push him out. Maytage to the outside, Xander Reed holds. Look at Sean Campbell, ever the opportunist. Oh no!
and the Coanda cars come together. Campbell has to go all the way off track to try and avoid it. We are 3 wide for the lead. Hovesen now sticks his nose in. He goes round the outside as we go 3 wide into turn 7.
I absolutely would look to the inside and make this move because it's clear that Ross O'Connor doesn't have the same speed. Mitchell de Jong is in 7th place and Xander Reed is in the final points position of 15th. It won't matter where he's finishing right now, so long as he is ahead of Xander Reed. Now, here comes the move for the race lead. Sean Campbell down the inside of Aidan Maytage, and he gets it sorted.
And Hovesen does not cover it off. He leaves the door open. That may have been an ill-fated move because he's not going to have the right side. No, he cuts in front of him.
0.4 of a second to lead this final lap out there, and he's got the margin. It's all in the mirrors right now. Gets the treatment. Both of them are going to go skirting through the grass. Both of them are going to lose a bunch of time.
Into the braking of the right-hander through the short chute. He's going to send it in, and Sean leaves the door open. He cuts back underneath him, and he overshoots. And our first driver to win that is not Mitchell de Jong is going to be Sean Campbell in round 5.
What a battle, and in 10th position, Mitchell de Jong will cross the line and become champion of the Porsche Esports Carrera Cup North America.
Well, in a championship that has seen some eventful races, that was probably the most eventful one we have had this season. Once again, hi, I'm Joe Peak. I'm here with Jake Sperry, and of course, behind the scenes, we have Christian Deploy and Daniel Costello directing, along with cameras from Dougie Beard. Now, Jake, we're into the last race of the season, and it's at one of the shortest tracks, perhaps one of the more punishing circuits we've gone to as well.
Well, we call this a bull ring in terms of the style of circuit that the Michelin Raceway Road Atlanta is, because it condenses you through the opening sector, down and up the hill. It forces you to think about placement through turn 6 and 7. And when you're going to try and set up a move, you know there's one key place to get it done. Turns 10A and 10B, that fabled chicane that has seen all the great passes in motorsports, past, present, and future, taken on a circuit that has hosted the likes of Petit Le Mans for a very, very long time. Joe, as far as this goes today, it's a known quantity for all the drivers, but the big unknown is how drivers will react.
And in fact, this race will, in the real life, be an adjoiner to the Petit Le Mans down at Road Atlanta later on this year. And I'm curious to see if that's the race that our now crowned champion, Mitchell de Jong, will choose. In the meantime, let's take a look at how this season has gone on the virtual side. As we mentioned, this is the last one, but it all started back at Sebring over in Florida. From there, we went off to Miami, and then Watkins Glen saw a little bit of messy racing at times. Road America also had its share of issues right into turn 1. Then at Indianapolis, it cleaned up, at least until the middle of the race when our top 2 drivers came together. And now, as we said, we wrap up at Road Atlanta. Talk to us a little bit about the specs of this track, Jake.
Well, it's a wonderful circuit that is full of elevation change here in Braselton, Georgia, and it asks you a lot in terms of how you move about and use the different properties of braking to go and get correct. Turn 2 into turn 3, going to be one of the toughest corners out there. You've got to turn and brake at the same time, known as the trail brake. But when you get over the top of the crest at turn 5, that curb on the outside, it's so easy to lose the car. But you're always setting up around, so if you're looking over at 10A, 10B, or turn 10 as we got on our map, and over towards turn 12, the run to turn 1, those are the 2 places where I'd expect to see many a move to be done today. This is a patient circuit. You have to try and work your way through at a track like this, and really there isn't too many places you can surprise. But ultimately, this is still one of the few circuits out there, Joe, where you can get it very, very wrong if you're not paying attention.
Yeah, it's old school in that sense. As we have mentioned, Mitchell de Jong is locked in now. He is our champion, but those 2nd and 3rd spots, those drivers will also advance to the regional qualifiers automatically for the PESC series. So Xander Reed, Sean Campbell, Antoine Lacharite, Manuel Troncoso, Michael Janney, Greg Hoveson. Those are the drivers that are still eligible for that second and third spot mathematically. Those are the ones you want to watch out for. We'll probably be going over all the iterations, and we'll talk about that a little bit later. In the meantime, let's see who amongst the lower regions are still scrabbling for scraps here, Jake.
Yeah, because they know that they still want points, and I think it's been a really good season that 32 different drivers have been scoring points. But I look at, say, Aaron Johnson, for example, who did a very good job at Long Beach in the real world just last week. Ultimately sits down 0 points. He's been very unlucky. He needs to jump up and find something. But you're talking drivers like Nathan Olsen, William Rasmussen, Jordan Johnson, Aiden Young. These are drivers who should be scoring big points, who aren't because of the caliber of the field, Jay.
And if you're new to this series, well, I'm glad you joined us before it's over. It's a 40-minute race. It is a fixed setup series, and they also don't have a spare car waiting for them. So as we like to say, you break it, you bought it. Much like the real world Carrera Cup North America, we do rolling starts. There are also live stewards that are watching. And even though it is the last round, they have given them a warning that you cannot relax. They're still going to make sure that everybody behaves. If you abuse your incident limits at 20 of them, you're going to get a drive-through. And then, of course, 5 more than that, you'll continue to get drive-through. There are some points available for pole and fastest lap, but let's see what a fast lap looks around here as we check out Aaron Janson's run around the course.
Hello everyone, we have made it to the season finale here at Road Atlanta. Lots of elevation changes, blind corners, and sequences make this place a really tricky track to maximize. As we head down to turn 1, we're going to give it a light brake here down to 4th gear. The compression at the apex really catches us as we can get really aggressive to throttle up the hill. Drag the brakes to pull the nose back to the left to set up for turn 3. As we exit turn 3, we're going to hold the car left and hook around this curb here. Keep the car opened up for the S's. We'll turn in a bit early here so we don't miss it, and immediately get our eyes up for turn 5. Really tricky exit here as we're using all this exit curb, which unsettles the car, but we have to commit to get the best run we can down to turn 6. Turn 6 is all about entry speed with a really short straightaway to follow, so really light brake, carry the speed in, then immediately get the car stopped up for turn 7 and pointed, and really big commitment to throttle down to the longest straightaway of the track in between 7 and 10. We'll have a lot of racing down this straightaway, but for now, we'll just hug tightest distance, shortest distance around the straight, and as we approach turn 10A, we'll get close to the 100 board down the hill, but not quite to it, down to 3rd gear. We're going to compromise the exit of 10A to set up for 10B, get the car pointed, use all the exit curb of 10B, keep the car out wide. It's really tricky flat, but we're going to stay flat down the hill in turn 12 as we finish the lap here at Road Atlanta.
There's a bunch of our drivers. They're going to be racing here tonight, so we'll try and check in with them throughout the event and see how it looks from their webcams. As sometimes you get emotion out of them, but they're all pretty stalwart bunch, as they often stay well in control of their emotions during the racing. But we'll see if we can get some reactions. We are just about to head into qualifying, as we did at Indianapolis, with it being a short lap. They are going to have split qualifying. And since we were just watching Aaron Janson race around here, and you mentioned it, Jake, it was 2 second places for Aaron back at Long Beach, which isn't too bad considering he's never raced there in real life. But also, you have to consider he was up against Tom Sargent, who came in as a wild card. He's not a full-time racer in that series, so it would have been 2 wins if it weren't for Tom.
No, very true. And you know what you say, you're only racing the competition you've got around you. But if you're only dealing with someone on a wild card entry, you're not too fussed, I would say, about being beaten by a driver who's not going to come back for the rest of the season. It sucks. Race drivers love to win. But the critical fact is, if you're thinking long game in the championship, you beat all the rivals who are going to be there and taking the points every single week or every single race meet. So I think that was really good for Aaron Johnson, and a lot of experience he can take into tonight to try and score some points and get the last chance saloon on and working. But qualifying about to get itself underway, split into those 2 groups as we note, and those 2 groups will be throwing everything that they can, and they are split as Group A and Group B as they look to get themselves now lined up and ready before the pit lane opens and they get themselves underway for qualifying action.
They're not forming that neat of a queue at the end of the pit lane from what we can see. This will be interesting to watch as they all try to funnel out. It does get quite narrow there on the pit exit. Now, this qualifying, you heard Jake mentioned the Group A and Group B. The way that they are sorted is according to their practice times. All the odd number drivers, so first, third, fifth, etc., on down, that's going to be Group A here that are just lining up now. And then Group B will be all your even number drivers from your practice times. They'll head out there. But we did see that we suspected there may have been some shenanigans from the Coanda group to try and get them all together by managing the times out there, which they did before. And they all worked together once again, which I think could be important because not only are they trying to make sure Xander Reed is locked in, but they need Michael Janney to have a very good race this week. They always say, Jake, that there are no team orders, but a chance to lock out all three for their teams for the advancing positions, that's pretty tempting.
It is, but if you want to talk scenario going into this, Michael Janney needs a minor miracle if he wants to get through. He sits down, ultimately 23 points down on Sean Campbell. So basically what he's looking for today is, if we're going to disregard pole position and fastest lap points, it won't matter either way for Michael Janney because he knows about the countback situation. It is a must-win race today for Michael Janney, and critically on that must-win, he needs Sean Campbell to be scoring a P14 or lower, and when Sean Campbell's been out there and he's been really, really good with his running, I think that's going to be a tall order to see, especially when you consider Michael is in this Group A, and he's got none of his teammates to help him.
Interesting. I didn't realize that they had been split up, so that's going to be rough for him. And yeah, you talked about Campbell needing to have a bit of a bad race to help him. What Campbell needs to do to help himself is a third place finisher better. And he's had a couple podiums already, so that's not impossible. Of course, last week he sealed his first win of the series, so that's going to be a huge help. So he needs to continue that form this week to make sure that nobody can do anything to take his third place away as we watch them now warm the tires here. The track temperature right now at about 84 Fahrenheit, which is about in that Goldilocks range. There you can see it's 78 Fahrenheit air temperature. That's 29 Celsius on the track for the metric folks out watching and needing some frame of reference. So you might see the drivers continue to weave a little bit here, both on this lap and maybe a bit on the first lap. We're not expecting, Jake, these first laps to be the money lap.
No, because these tyres that they've got working underneath them here have to take time to warm up. It's a tyre that has itself maybe a couple laps to get itself to temperature, but critically, this is a car that I think drivers love qualifying in for a very good reason, because you can be aggressive on the front and you can be aggressive on the rears. So you can light up the fronts if you're trying to warm them up, light up the rears, and you have the ability to cool both the fronts and the rears down as and when you need if you're going to go for a cool lap. So I think it's a really interesting car. It suits either style of driving. Those who very much like driving with the rear and getting the rotation in the back and getting loose. It likes a driver who drives it pointy. It's just a case of how you get the car to respond, and these Porsche 992.2s I think are really cool to see. Janney at the moment 34.5 in the opening sector, and we'll be eyeing up this and saying, look, bank a lap it's going to be, noting that Young and Dragotta are following then through into 10A and 10B. 27.1 exact for the second sector under the Fox Factory Bridge and looking over towards the line. Joe, I think this has been a nice, neat and tidy lap to start things off.
Let's see what kind of mark he puts down. I can tell you that there are a lot of drivers on the backstretch that were trying to jockey for position, and we're slowing up to allow a lot of people by. But Janney puts down a 1:18.8. That's definitely not going to be our fastest time. I can guarantee you that. They were doing much better in the practice session. Aiden Young in behind him in second. Jordan Ayer. There's a few drivers that are hopefuls that are in this group. Troncoso is out there. You've also got Hoveson in this group, and La Charité along with Janney. So there's a good chunk of drivers that are eligible that are in this spot.
There are, and because of that eligibility here, they are going to be trying to get themselves into tow, give themselves the best conditions out there to go for it, and they're not actually going to see that much of a depreciation of the circuit. Joe, we're running in the evening at the moment, an in-sim time of about 6:45 in the afternoon. It's not going to get much cooler than this. There is not that much of an advantage from being in the first group to the second as the Falcon sim racing cars look to work with each other then. That is Guy Levesque and Gregory Hoverson then, who will be together out there and trying to work themselves into play. Aaron Johnson then has a very close relationship with the Coanda drivers, but he's in and amongst the fiercely forwards as an 18.5 set by Michael Janney. And look at how much work Dalton Zavadil is having to do. A very animated driving style.
I was going to say, I don't think he has his force feedback turned down from what I can see. Some drivers I know prefer that just so that it's less work on the arms, but I guess he likes to have that feel of what the car is doing because, like you said, it is very active there on his hands. Now, his latest lap, good enough for 10th. Actually, no, the latest lap was deleted, it looks like, so he had an off track somewhere. And I did see that Janson was backing out down the back straightaway, so he definitely was not considering that a competitive lap for himself. In fact, I think Troncoso is the only one that hasn't set a time, although he's come back into pit lane. I wonder if he maybe had a miscommunication on whether or not he was supposed to be in this group. Bit of a slide from Zavadil onto the backstretch as one of the other drivers pulls to the inside to allow the others through.
Yeah, and so keep an eye out for those drivers who are setting themselves up and saying, look, I'm going to be finding as much of a run as I can. I want to get the tyres in the window before I show any of my hand. Janney going even quicker to an 18.3. Here is Antoine Le Charité, who's got possibly the best chance of those on the outside looking in. Munoz up to second, and Le Charité goes fourth behind Paul Darling, now fifth because Jordan Eyre jumps up. But Le Charité here knows he's got to put a good lap time here down in qualifying. He knows his day is going to be over if you don't count the bonus points, if he doesn't get a top 5 finish here today. So this World Sim Racing car has to do everything it can to get into the top 5 and hope results go his way.
Right now, Aiden Matage is our fastest driver out there with a 1:18.2. Michael Janney, sitting in second, is just under a tenth of a second behind him. On board with Antoine, he's got a lot of tow in front of him. Not only does he have one car, I can see 2 at least up ahead from this onboard that are giving him a nice little tow, one of which is already peeling out of the way for him.
Well, no one wants to be the one who gives the tow to a driver who gets a faster lap, and so you understand that you've got to get out of the way. You don't want to be held for impeding, and it is a big problem that we have seen over the course of this. Aidan Young in the number 71 goes third, quickest here. Le Charité, a purple first sector, green in the second, 18.258 over the line. Fastest by 13 thousandths of a second. You talk about finding a much needed lap. That was as much needed gets. Hoverson up to fourth, and Janney, who looked comfortable at the top, is now suddenly knocked back to fifth.
Yeah, Guy there, who is in third, has been trying to help out Hoverson, I believe. He's been the lead in that duo for some time now. The Canadian knows that his teammate has a shot. Unfortunately for Guy, he is, I think, just outside of what's possible in trying to crack in. So it's a bit of a shame, but obviously interested in trying to play the team game here, although he's got a nice little pull from one of the fiercely forward cars. That's Dalton Zavadil, who's been shuffled all the way to 15th. Remember, he was one of the faster ones earlier.
Yeah, and that's just the way the cookie crumbles around Road Atlanta. One time or one lap, you're going to be up there and you're looking very quick, but everyone else does improve and find that time. Levesque, fastest first sector, 34.162, 26.8 and tucked in under the toe, going into 10A and 10B. This could be the cat amongst the pigeons, the chaos in the order that they are all looking around at and saying, do we want to be in any form of understanding as Levesque crosses the line and goes to the top by a full 1/10 of a second. Hoverson couldn't set a lap behind, and so Guy Levesque quickest out there. He's going to make life very tough for La Charité.
We're getting close to breaking that 118 mark in this group. And yeah, 1/10 around a track as short as this, that's a pretty good gap that he has been able to build. Aiden Matage is not going to have this one count for sure, as he thankfully did. Yeah, thankfully did not wreck it.
No, Jordan did, and everybody had to scatter there right at the end. Over the top of turn 5, he caught the curb wrong, bashed into the barriers, and then everyone who was on a lap, because they extend over the club circuit, basically had to find a way through. Hoverson ended up taking contact as he went through, and they'll have a word of that with the stewards. With a minute remaining on the clock, Michael Janney gets to an improvement, an 18.110. He goes back to the top.
So Janney now up at the front once again, even without the help of his teammates. It is still a very slim margin, and we're starting to run out of time. We've gotten the 1 minute to go warning from the stewards. Michael Janney still getting a nice little pull. I can see Guy Levesque coming into pit lane, so he's had enough for this one. And yep, there goes Michael Janney's help off the side of the course, and finds himself now alone on the backstretch where he really needs someone to pull him along.
Yeah, he does, and what I think he really needs more than anything else is to understand that the checkered flag is now out, and so these are final laps they all sit with, and they know that if anyone's going to improve, that's going to be critical. That's a bumper then discarded, as there is Matage, 34.2 on the opening sector, which is an improvement for him, and he knows he's got a 1/10.5 to go and deal with. Very low down seated position here for Aiden, and a very calm look around then as far as things go. I think he knows and understands there isn't really that much he can do to jump, to improve, to find that tiny bit more, but we'll see another green sector here in sector 2.
Young managed to move up into 6. Looks like Olsen is not going to improve. Trying to see if anybody else is able to jump up right here. And I think Jean-Saul just finished. He does not improve either. What about Matage, who sits in 4th? No, lap is deleted. That's it for him. Mayo does get down to an 18.5, and I think that is everybody. Now, as we take a short break before the next group, we had a special video shot while we were at Long Beach. Let's see what Jean-Saul got up to.
Hey, man.
How you doing, Mitchell?
Good. So nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
Yeah, so thanks so much for being here. It's really cool to have one of the best sim drivers in the world in this car, get to come and check out the real thing. Thanks for your help on the sim. You know, I learned a lot from you guys just running with you and holding myself to such a high standard, so that was really cool. Congratulations on the championship. Let's let you check out the real thing.
Let's do it.
Yeah.
Sweet. I am pretty tall, so.
Yeah. So down here is the slider. So if you pull that up and then move the seat forward, you can pull yourself toward the wheel, and you can pull on the wheel if you want a little bit.
Oh yeah. Okay.
Yeah. And then I didn't pump the brakes up. They changed brakes, so you may want to pump the pedal.
Okay. Is that cool to do?
Yeah, you can do whatever you want.
Wow. Nice.
Yeah, so I don't know how your sim wheel's set up and what adjustments you have on it, but we can't use this, obviously.
Sure.
But this is how easy it is to change ABS settings.
Wow, that's nice.
Literally, I can go corner to corner and change them whenever I want, just like that.
Has a nice pop to it, too.
Oh, yeah.
Flick it. That's cool.
So this is whenever I want people to get out of the way.
Yeah, yeah.
You just hold it down. You don't even have to work to flash the,
Okay.
you know, like a lower level car. This thing's great. Radio button. Whenever I hold the clutch down, this is what cranks the car as long as the ignition's on.
Sure.
So turn on and off with this button, which is pretty cool.
Okay.
Windshield wipers, you press it once, it wipes.
Yep.
If you hold it, they'll stay on.
Okay.
And I didn't know that the first time I drove it in the rain. Well, car's in the air right now. If you hold this down while you're on the ground, it'll give you power steering when the car's not cranked.
Oh, I see. Yep.
Then fan over here.
Cool.
You can do fan screen and you.
Yep.
Or screen or driver.
Okay.
So I'll usually run that, you know.
It's quite nice, not gonna lie.
Yeah, and you can point those things towards you, whatever you want. Some people point them to their face, but I usually put it on my body.
Yeah. Fair enough.
And for weight, put a cool box in there.
Oh, yeah.
So I'll actually run a cool shirt if it's really hot.
Oh, that's
and then
nice.
have a helmet blower that's probably like hanging behind you somewhere.
Right.
Yeah, so it goes through the tube behind the seat.
Cool.
Super cozy in here though.
Yep.
Yeah.
Caution lights, or what are these for?
Yeah,
for like
so-
flags and stuff?
Yeah, so if there's a full Porsche yellow or something like that,
Nice.
this will come up.
Does it get warm in here in general? Like,
It gets hot.
Yeah.
It gets really hot.
I guess it's pretty sealed for it's raining or something, right? So you don't want any water getting in here. Oh, nice. Thanks for showing me. Appreciate it.
Yeah,
It's awesome. Cool.
Yeah, I'd
Thanks.
love to see you get behind the wheel and drive it.
One day. Thanks. Yeah, this thing's pretty awesome. Love to try the real thing one day.
Second group has already started, but that is so tantalizing, Jake. The mention of, hey, we got to get Mitchell into a real world cup car at some point. He's done real racing, so I don't think it's completely out of the realm of possibility.
No, I don't. He used to drive in the X Games out there, was a very big rallycross driver, was racing up against the likes of Tanner Faust, for example, Scott Speed. So some really big names that have been out there over the course of motorsport in the United States. To translate to a cup car, as we've got Mitchell de Jong here right now, he's used to the car moving about. He's also used to sitting down and driving with what he's got here on his sim rig. So he knows exactly what it takes to get to that level, be at the highest echelon, and it doesn't matter what sport, be it full metal or in sim. He is a driver who is incredibly talented out there, and a driver who, quite honestly, any given race has an opportunity to go and win it. So I'd be really excited to see what he would do to challenge later on in the season on a wild card.
Now watch the upper left of your screen. That's your marker, 118.110, and it's Michael Janney, who's teammates with Mitchell de Jong, who took the pole last time out, but he didn't win, interestingly, now that he finally got himself up on the top. And then his teammate, Xander Reed, who is still also vulnerable to losing his second place, potentially, is just ahead currently. This is their first flying lap that they're on, but as we saw last time, probably not the one that they're going to bank on being their fastest lap, but they are probably putting a banker in. And it looks like the first time around, Xander Reed, good enough for an 18.9. De Jong, though, an 18.2 on his first one.
He is really flying. It's good enough to jump to third position, so he's dialed in. Ross O'Connor had a purple middle sector, went 12th fastest with his attempt. And here's a look at Ross right now, just calmly going about. You see a lot of drivers who go out there have typically gone to the headphone, but in terms of what we're seeing more and more of now here, Joe, we're seeing more going for the in-ear bud in order to get the hearing and the listening, basically just to cancel out all of that noise that you don't need a massive headset that can create discomfort over the ears and onto the jaw and the head. But sometimes that can give a lot of help, and that's what Ross O'Connor is dealing with at the moment, and he's going to be looking to try and jump up that order. An 18.4, he's not a million miles away.
Yeah, for reference, right now we have 30 cars, and that's out of 33, that are within 1 second of the current pole time. That's not been unusual in this series. It is just so closely fought out there. As the 74 gets ready to cross once again, his latest lap is an 18.3, and de Jong just went to pole, so he has taken those bonus points away from his teammates.
But when you put it into perspective, if you're taking points off the table rather than putting them on the table for someone else to get here, Joe, I think that's a benefit to Xander Reed. I think it makes life tougher for Michael Janney. So this is swings and roundabouts. It helps one driver, it hurts another. If you weren't able to get that pole time, it's very simple. You weren't quick enough.
Exactly. And as we said, it's probably not going to mean as much for those farther back, as the Coanda cars are going to peel off And they've got a little bit of a friend hanging on. Manuel Troncoso is trying to stick with him so that he can get some extra tow. Another driver that needs that win to try and advance through to the top three. There we can see his webcam. And I think behind him, that is Ross O'Connor, who we were following before, who's managed to jump up into 7th. Meanwhile, ahead of him on the timing sheets is Andrew Caron in the number 6, appropriately in 6. He's about 0.379 off the pole time currently, and it looks like he's trying to set himself up for a quick lap here in a moment.
He very much will do. Green in the first sector, Green in the second, and really pushing for the line. He does an 18-1 that gets him up to 4th. Then it will jump his teammate Le Charité. It will jump Aidan Maytage out there. Ross O'Connor currently 7th out there, and you're looking down the order at some drivers who are maybe out of position. Keep an eye on Sean Campbell with 3 minutes remaining here in qualifying. He is all the way down in 16th place. If this were to be end result out there, he would be out of the points, and that would definitely not be what the doctor ordered. Neither for Xander Reed, who's on an 18-9 right now, and in this 33-car field is 32nd, and that's unheard of.
I was just going to say, yeah, Xander really can't afford to make any big mistakes. I mean, if he balks it on this lap, he's got enough time to come around for one more, maybe. But time is looking precious right now, and Sean Campbell is going to abandon this one and go for his apparently last lap or second to last lap. As they've got enough time to get around once more. Xander Reed should be on a flyer as he's been following behind our current pole sitter. And as he crosses, it is an 18-2. And that's going to bump him up into 7th. Still not perfectly ideal, but much better.
Well, he's only got to get 5 points today, does Xander Reed, to guarantee his safety. That's the equivalent of finishing inside the top 11. Such was his slew of second-place finishes at the start of the season. Manu Troncoso, in a must-win scenario, must get the car up as high as he possibly can. He's in 9th in that Drago Racing number 62, which is making life incredibly tough for him to jump up the order and say, look, I can make it happen in these late qualifying laps. But you are turning around and saying, well, Xander Reed, he's in place. He doesn't need to do anything special or funky. He's just got to do what he needs to. Manu Troncoso out there, I think, has really got to set himself up now and say, look, leave it all on the table. I can't afford to sit back and be idle.
And here's where the games begin. We have cut underneath that 1:18 mark left on the clock. So this will be the last lap, and everybody is in the same group currently. So that'll be nice and easy to figure out. I think the 97 is the only car that has kind of lost touch with the main pack and is on his own. Sean Campbell still hasn't managed to improve. He sits in 18th. Let's see what this one is. Xander Reed just jumped up to 5th, so he found a little bit more time. And 18.099, Sean Campbell goes to the front row.
And that's big because he has put himself right in the mixer and has given Antoine Le Charité a lot to think about. He'll be going currently at best from 7th place. Great lap by Sean Campbell as he has set himself up well. When you've got drivers like Troncoso have to be up there and all of them relying on a bad day from Sean Campbell, well, here's the issue. Sean Campbell is right up at the front, and often in races like these, as the checkered flag flies, safest place, front of the pack.
Very much so at the start of this race as well. Lap 1, I anticipate to be very tricky to stay out of trouble. And remember, much like they had last time at Indianapolis, they're punishing first lap incidents harsher now to try and dissuade drivers from being silly when they start off this 40-minute race. With the clock officially over, we wait to see what will happen between Xander Reed and Mitchell de Jong. Xander is trying to pull the current pole sitter's toe. Is it enough to get him up onto the front row with him? 1:18.1, no, he is just shy of it, but he is up to 3rd.
That's all he needs to do, really. He's got a lot of daylight between there and 11th as Danish Hassan will pull it over to the side of the road and say he is not going to improve on those laps. The final cars have come over, and that then effectively, as far as qualifying will go, will be that in this field. And Joe, The big players who are 1, 2, and 3 in the championship are 1, 3, and 2 on this starting grid.
Wow. It all kind of sorts itself out, doesn't it? But yeah, we've seen those three drivers be among the best of the best all season long. You think about how many 1-2s Mitchell and Xander already had until it finally got broken up a little bit later on. Then yeah, it completely makes sense that they wound up where they are. But Michael Janney sitting in fourth, he could try and spoil the party for our hopefuls outside of the Coanda team, as they're going to try and make it a 1-2-3. Right now they have a 1. They could have an easy 1-2 in the points, but Michael will need almost a miracle to take that third position. If the opportunity is there for them to pull over and gift him a win, I'm sure that is not off of the table. With the grid set, it's time to go through today's starting order for the season finale of the Porsche Esports Carrera Cup North America. And we'll take a look at those here in just a second, as 33 cars will line up for this last race of 6 rounds that we blitzed through in 6 weeks. But very glad to see the many participants we've had stick with us for this entire time. And on the front straightaway, I can already tell you most of them have already gridded up, so you can tell how eager they are to get this one going. There is Mitchell de Jong, your pole sitter. Once again, he'll be next to Sean Campbell, starting from P2. Then it is going to be Xander Reed, who starts from third in today's race. Michael Janney, his teammate, will start next to him in fourth. Fifth will go to Guy Levesque, with Andrew Caron next to him for WSR Esports. Then we get to seventh spot with Manuel Troncoso starting in that position. Antoine Lacharite, another hopeful, next to him on row 4, both trying for that P3 in the points. Aiden Maitage is in ninth, and then Ross O'Connor rounds out your top 10.
Gregory Halverson is the lowest place of those who must win today. He starts 11th with Alex Johnson there in 12th. Row 7 houses Kevin Desnoyers and Aidan Young, the gatekeeper of the points. Top 15 score points in this championship. It's Jordan Eyre and Dalton Zavadil making it a fiercely forward 8th row of the grid. Row 9 will see Jaden Munoz representing Burosud Plus competition, and Cade Middleton there in the 18th place. Your top 20 rounded out by Christian Muniz and Leonardo Dragotta.
21st is going to be Morgan Burkhardt, one of our drivers that does also compete in real-world racing, as Anthony Landry will be 22nd next to him. Row 12 sees Aiden Pohl on the inside. Kyle Cesara is going to be in the 24 spot next to him. Quarter century mark goes to Paul Darling, who did in fact score a point thanks to some penalties last week, so he is on the board. Luke Wallace will start in 26 next to him. Then it is Jean-Edouard Maillot starting from 27th. Danish Hassan didn't get that last competitive lap. He'll have to settle for 28th. 29th goes to Aaron Janson, with Daniel Ferguson rounding out your top 30. I'll just wrap up our last 3 here, with 31st being Nathan Olson. George Griffiths will start in the 32nd position. And then last but not least, it'll be Floyd Kerr, who rounds out our field here today. And as you can see, it goes all the way up and almost completely around the final corner of the track. So thankfully, they are not doing the standing starts here.
No, they are very fortunate in that regard, but they will also note behind the Porsche iRacing first safety car that they have to get the tyre temperature up, and quickly here in the evening, as we are now at what is nearing 20 past 7. This is going to be a case of must get tyre temp, must get it quickly, must be aggressive in the opening runs. They are also, in terms of how they get the go off of the start, not allowed to initiate going forward or any overtake, Joe, until the green flag drops. Once the green flag drops, that's it. They're allowed to pin the foot down to the floor and say, I can go for moves into turn 1. And the key that we have seen over the course of these 6 races out there, or 5 that we've seen before this one, is that there are certain drivers in this field who have lightning fast reactions to the drop of the green flag, and they go a lot quicker than some of the others. And that driver in third, Xander Reed, that 777, he might be the best driver in this entire pack, Joe, at getting the launch off the drop of a green flag.
Yeah, the only one I'd argue that might have him bested on that is Mitchell de Jong, but he's starting on pole already, so he's going to have a bit of an advantage on that one as we see them come off of turn 5. We talked a lot about the first corner back at Indianapolis and how drivers needed to try and stay out of trouble there, and I've already alluded to it, Jake, that basically turn 1 up to turn 5 at this track can see some pretty big wrecks or some pileups if drivers do not respect the space that the others have. How do you handle that in a field this tight around here where nobody's going to be willing to give up an inch?
Well, if no one's going to give you an inch, you have to play very close to your chest, in the sense that you can't give angles to the inside. You don't want to be shuffled to the outside of the circuit, but it is inevitable. At least one corner up through the S's, you're on the wrong side of the road and you're not playing it how you want to. If I was driving in the middle of the pack, I would desperately seek to be single file as quick as possible. And if I have to be aggressive and make a pass, I would do so with caution, knowing how quickly a 1-car incident can be a 10-car incident if they're not paying attention and there is front to rear contact or a catch of the quarter panel. I'd be very scared if I was starting anywhere outside of the top 10, knowing I've got positions to make. This might be a great candidate here for an early safety car.
Well, let's cross our fingers that we can repeat the non-caution-filled race that we had at Indianapolis. As the pace car is in, Mitchell de Jong now has control of the field. He'll have to wait for the call from the stand, which usually comes early at this track. And there it is right there. Green flag is out. Campbell looks like he got caught out a little bit. In fact, to the inside, I think that is Michael Janney, who is trying to split it and make it a top 3 for the Coanda cars. 4 wide in behind them down through the first corner. We watch the field try to side their way through. So far, so good through turn 1. What about the blind turn 3?
Oh, they're going to have to work hard through here. Campbell's already shuffled back to 5th, and they're still 2 and 3 wide in places as they work down the S's, which is never a good idea as you try and find an angle to work up the top of the crest. Over they go, and there's going to be a big shuffle up here between Mataj Lecharité and Gregory Hoverson, who's had a lightning start to this race, and he's needed that being down the order. Lecharité, the one in trouble here, who's now going to see Mataj then try and force his way through on the inside, manages it, immediately goes to cover Alex Johnson, doesn't want another 54 car there, and Johnson can't get into line because De Neuer is into position. Lecharité already back in 11th place. Campbell back down to P5, but knowing that he's okay for the moment. It's those top 3, staying top 3 as you are and being happy with what they've got. Coanda 1, 2, 3, but Michael Janney needs to move up.
And it is a mess back there as there's still plenty of cars side by side down into the chicane of 10A and 10B, but they'll finally get back to single file on the main straight. The head of that group currently is Kevin Desnoyers. In the lost which position he is, 12th it looks like amongst that group. Morgan Burkhardt just behind them in 18th, thankfully has a bit of breathing space, which is probably much appreciated in this group at this stage, but it's not going to last long. You can see drivers getting those swings of speed with the draft and with just better lines.
Morgan is a really, really talented real-world club scene driver. I've seen him out there in the likes of Grid Life, for example, doing a really, really good job of trying to prove just how good he can be. He's great on the likes of an MX-5, and you need that close quarters combat to work out how to make that pass. That was aggressive against Jordan Eyre, who had nothing to fight with against that. I think we were just about to catch a replay as well as they work down towards 10A and 10B. So this is how aggressive it needs to be off the start. So Danish Hassan then at the back running into troubles. And there was a check up at the back, and he was the one that ended up getting turned.
Yeah, I had noticed that on my side. I didn't catch what other cars were involved in that, but yeah, everybody kind of stacked up, and unfortunately he was the one that was turned around as de Jong sets fastest lap of the race. It is a hornet's nest here in the fight for about 20th position, being led by Cade Middleton around the outside there. And the bright green car of Paul Darling thankfully keeps it from running onto the grass. But look at them, still on lap 3, and they haven't settled out going through turn 3. That's usually a completely single file corner.
It is, and normally that's where you find the troubles out there. The drivers that don't want to settle find themselves in trouble, and rightly pointed out to us as well. Morgan Burkhart in the IMSA Michelin Pilot Challenge 2 this year. So I've seen him in previous years. He's now moved up in the levels of motorsport, and he's been doing a great job. Campbell here in 5th position is happy with what he's got, but it's calm at the front of this field. Single file, no one's really offering anything at the moment, and Sean's got no reason to offer anything because P5 is safe. Xander Reed is safe in P2, his favourite spot of them all this season, and so I would turn around and say, why would I need to do anything more than this? He's getting, I would say, a gap with the cars in front, a gap with the cars behind. This is the ideal situation if you want to just manage expectation and get a championship result.
Nobody has been able to break away by this point. You go all the way back to 16th, Dalton Zavadil, before you have a gap of more than half a second. So Morgan Burkhart about 1 second behind Dalton, sitting in 17th. Otherwise, they are nose to tail. We jump farther back in the field to Nathan Olson. He is currently trying to chase Anthony Landry, coming down through the S's towards turn 5.
Yep, Nathan Olson really trying to work up through and say, this is where I'm going to find my chance, as he sees the slowdown penalty. Anthony Landry with damage on the front as well, I think is going to pull that over to one side then and go to the back of the pack. So whatever's gone wrong, the scraping that you can see on the front of his number 39 has really put him behind the 8 ball now. He's got a lot of work to do to get back through. They are fighting even at the very, very back of this field. Danish Hassan and George Griffiths going at it with Kyle Cesare and Aaron Johnson in front.
Also worth noting, Jordan Hare did wind up getting a 5-second penalty for that qualifying infringement of impeding. George Griffiths, though, is going to get a little chopped off at the first. Apex tries to cut back underneath to see if he can get back in there. Ahead of this group is Aaron Johnson, still running in 28th, where he's a position ahead of where he started. As we have a little look to the inside, that's going to be Hassan trying to make up for that poor start, but he gets denied by Griffiths.
He does, and so that makes life tougher out there as they now start sitting and saying, look, he has got to be a very, very tough driver here. Does the likes of, say, Andrew Caron to go and get through and gain a bit more, because Manuel Troncoso, he's looking to try and hold that same pace. And I look at Manuel Troncoso in a sim racing sense. He's a very, very good driver in what is now possibly the 3rd best team, if not the 2nd best team in the world of motorsport. You talk about 3 great sim racing teams in sim racing, and they are as follows: Verstappen Sim Racing, Carrera Esports, and then Drago's team number 3. But Caron doesn't mind that. He tries to throw it for a move. He doesn't get there, and Caron is actually going to lose out. Look at that. Pick your pocket. Then going down the hill, Ross O'Connor.
Gregory Hobison in behind as well. We ride on board with Andrew in the number 6, with Greg firmly in his mirrors, but O'Connor through his windscreen, bouncing over the inside curve through turn 1 and up over the blind crest of 2. He gets a little bit too far away to do anything for now. It's all, once again, single file here. We're almost a quarter of the way through this final race of the season. And this has been, and I'm knocking on wood, one of the more calm starts that we have seen for this series. We managed to get through the first few laps and stayed green. What's it going to be like for the rest of it as drivers maybe get increasingly desperate towards the end?
And this is where you go to the championship and realise there are no other alternatives out there. You have to throw your haymakers and you have to keep yourself in range. If the gaps start opening up, and Manuel Troncoso has a second, 1.1 here to Sean Campbell, he realises he's got to get the hurry-up message now, otherwise he's got no hope. This is such an easy drive at the moment that you would sit down and say, look, I'm going to get what I can. Dalton Zavadil throwing one down the inside then. He's going to get that one done quite nicely there on Aiden Young. So Aiden is going to sit down with that and say, look, I tried, but this is very tough. Really shaking about there. That Porsche 992.2 through the final corner. You really load up, surprisingly, down the hill through 12, up back the hill at turn 1. And they've got to be very careful here because they could miss the train. It's departing the station.
That's a good point. As much as you want more positions, you don't want to hold each other too much. As this is kind of back to that slipstream track because of that back straightaway. This course definitely split in two halves. And Aiden just barely sneaks through there as Dalton almost chucked it into the wall going wide at 5.
Well, this is why you don't want to go wide at turn 5. There's that massive curb, and if you start kicking up out there over the bumps, you saw the front just oscillate as it went over, as Michael Janney now has decided, look, I'm tired of sitting back. I've got to go and prove myself here. And he gets a clean pass on Xander Reed. That will put him up into second position. He knows that he's got to get by Mitchell de Jong and hope that Sean Campbell runs into troubles. But for the moment, Michael Janney making the move slowly as he needs to. Calm head on experienced shoulders from this sim racer, knowing in the number 23 that he can only do what he can, which is to win the race and hope that, and hope beyond hope, I would say, that something plays into his hands.
Of our top 11, currently 6 of them are the drivers that are able to try and mathematically move into the top 3. So far, so good for a good chunk of them on trying to do what they need to do to at least position themselves. That was a bit wide, though, coming from Mitchell de Jong off of turn 5. You could see the dirt that he kicked up, but that's going to happen a lot today. Now it's back onto the back stretch, looking for a podium lockout potentially for that Coanda team. There's Hovesen, who currently sits in 9th. He's got Andrew Caron just in front of him after Andrew lost his spot just a few laps ago, but hasn't been able to do anything on the Canadian yet.
No, and you have to sit down and say, oh, how are you going to do that? Because car in front of you's got slipstream on the car in front of you's got slipstream on the car in front of you's got slipstream. Manu Troncoso has really pushed over the last couple of laps and said, look, I'm going to increase my pace. Everybody else is going to turn and look at that and say, well, if they're going to be increasing pace, I would look at Ross O'Connor, Andrew Caron, Gregory Hovesen. If they're having to go at 10/10 right now to stay with Troncoso out there, so too is May Tyson, Lacharate, and De Noia, and Johnson, and Munoz. They can't make a move because they're stretched out. They're at 100%. This is what we see at the highest level. Drivers who are incredibly quick can't make moves because they've got that to go with. They can, though, back in 25th because there's still a little bit they can go and deal with. Wallace into the side. There is the likes of Jean-Edouard Maillot sneaking around, taking that one away. Paul Darling.
Nice job by Paul Darling. He's not into the points yet on this one, although he nearly gets a shot to the back as Maillot looks like he's a bit bemused by what has just happened there. Saw a crack of a smile, so he's at least having fun. Look to the inside behind them, but nothing doing amongst that group. Being led right now by, it looks like that is Floyd Kerr, currently in 23rd, who is up 10 positions. Great race for him as we go side by side between Caron and Connor, and Andrew's got that spot back. Hovesen says, thank you very much. I'm not going to just take one. I'm going to take 2, and he gets it on the inside of turn 12.
Apparently, they are selling a 2-for-1 deal at turn 10A and 10B, and you look around at Gregory Hovesen, he goes, bargain, I'll take that one and say I'll get 2 places for the price of 1, and that's what happens when you focus insular against just the car behind you. It opens out, and Gregory Hovesen, great racecraft.
Can't stress enough how sketchy that is to try and go wheel to wheel down through turn 12 at full tilt. Dinesh Hassan, has he gotten into more trouble? And unfortunately, it looks like that is with the 20 of Janson, who was able to sneak away from it. But Hassan finds himself sent spit all the way into the tires.
Chris Clee was able to drive it away there, Joe, so there's no need to throw a yellow flag there for him. It's the sort of case where if you completely damage the car and you can't drive it back under your own power, that's when we traditionally see the safety car get deployed. So that's going to be worth noting if there is a big incident out there. Alex Johnson here in the middle of the pack here, 13th place, and trying to work up through this order. In fact, I'd say arguably to the rear of that pack, trying to jump forward. He's probably going to be thinking about this, going, I've settled down. This is where the meat and potatoes of the race is. I probably need to think about one move at a time to work on up the order in the fiercely forward number 7.
Now, Alex is within those points with Jaden Munoz behind him, but they've got a gap to 15th, which is the last of those points-paying positions. Aiden Young, Dalton Zavadil. We were watching them a little bit earlier, so that should be entertaining if that carries on to the end, because they kind of have to scrap amongst themselves to figure out who gets that one single point to wrap things up. Johnson playing it patient for the time being as he watches Kevin Denoyers just in front of him in the number 5. What's he going to do here onto the back stretch as he takes a very different line on the way in?
Yeah, and turn 7 is off camber compared to turn 6, which is on camber. So you get two very different styles out there that make differences. I've just seen a block for the race lead off camera, by the way, between De Jong and Jani. So as Johnson will now pull to the inside, he'll try and go for it as O'Connor and Caron also go side by side and work this line. Outside is going to have to be the case. De Neuer will see down the inside. Munoz trying to poke his nose out and doesn't get there. Whoa. Just get yourself back into line. Off goes De Neuer, and straight back across goes Alex Johnson to go and make the pass at turn 1. He forces his way by and says thank you, and in the middle of all of that, O'Connor and Caron continued on in their scrap, and they've allowed Hoverson to break.
Well, even though it was De Jong that did the rallycross, these drivers apparently making their own version of the 911 Cup car out here today, just extending the track limits a bit. Jaden Munoz still watching from behind. He did think briefly about that 3 wide, but thankfully thought better of it through turn 12. It's hard enough, as I said, going 2 wide through there. There's Jaden Munoz's onboard camera as he sets himself up for the run down the backstretch, and he's quite close to the back of Kevin.
He is, and he is a wonderful driver. Out there is Jaden Munoz. He has been at the highest level of sim racing for a number of years now, and he does so much amazing work. He's moved away from the Williams gaming team over to Burasud competition, and he's a teammate here today with Morgan Burkhart as Aiden Young looks around at Dalton Zavadil, as there will also be that crossover. We just miss it. There's the pass. Munoz on cue gets Kevin De Neuer's number and says, please, that is my position. And they go, look at the switch. That's so aggressive from Aiden Young as he works against the likes of Dalton Zavadil here. They're going for 1 point between them. And remember, Aiden Young way down in the championship. He would love 1 more point to go back into the pocket and say, I gave it my all and I had a really good race at Road Atlanta.
Yeah, unfortunately, there's no sharing that last drop in the juice box on this sandbox between these two. They cannot share that 1 point, and Aiden Young is going to have to try and sneak that one back. I do like the respect that I'm seeing between them out there, though. That run through turn 1, barely an inch given between them, but no contact.
It's hard racing, but it's fair racing. And this is the difference between going out there and making those moves. If you walk down into your local 1,000 iRacing race, your 2,000 iRacing race, you started seeing those moves, you'd expect an accident to come along about 3 corners down the road. You see it with these drivers. They know when to turn it on, and critically, they know when to turn it back off as well and find themselves back in line. Dragotta side by side, then the 68 of Floyd Kurt by Imperial. What a lunge there by Floyd, but ultimately Dragotta gets the run out of 10B. He'll get the chance, and now here comes Luke Wallace into play. He'll now go to the outside looking to try and switch back up and under, and he's not going to quite get it here. But again, down in 22nd, they're giving a showcase.
And a little bit of contact between them. Thankfully did not turn around Floyd as Dragotta was just a little bit of a tap to the rear, and there's another one coming up into turn 3. Now it's starting to get a little bit physical And this is all trying to decide 22nd position between this trio. It does look like they might be caught up soon. That's Paul Darling leading another 3 cars, catching up to them.
Yeah, so if you start playing about, groups of 3 become groups of 6. So Darling and Mayo and Cesare are all going to get there and say, look, I'm going to be into this group, and so too the 3 behind that as well, Joe, of Johnson, Paul and Griffiths.
So far, we've only lost 2 cars, Landry and Ferguson. Hassan just came out of pit lane after getting some repairs. We're watching the battle for 9th between Ross O'Connor, battle for 8th rather, between O'Connor and Caron. Another little peek down the inside of turn 1 from Ross. Decides to back out of it. Didn't have the overlap into the corner needed to make a safe one. So Andrew will at least hold on for now, and just look at how these things bounce over the curbs here.
They travel so far, and you have to be very precise on how you hit the curves at Road Atlanta. Anything less than square could be the end of your race. So, oh, speak of the devil, there in the back, that's Jaden Munoz going for a roller coaster ride off of turn 5, catches the curb with a slide, has to try and hold on Wonelli, and Kevin Desnoyers says, I'll have that one back, thank you.
Those 2 have been fighting, which means that Zavadil and Young have been starting to catch them, and they would probably like that. That's more points at hand there, and maybe a chance to get away from one another a little bit as Kevin shakes his head maybe and a little bit of disappointment with what has been going on here. He's going to go side by side down into the corner. He'll have the outside of the first apex. Munoz switches back to try and get the undercut, gets the inside of turn 12, which is usually all you need to take it, and he does.
Twice. He's done that twice now to Kevin Desnoyers, and look at this. Here comes Dalton Zavadil to the inside. Desnoyers forced him right down low, pinched him for the line and said, I'll take the natural racing line on the outside and carry the speed and cover off the move. This is some elite work having to be done between attack and defence here, and some big smoke looks like it's come through the S's section 2. So it looks like there's a lot that they've had to try and find their way by through over these sections of running, but this has been a really tough run on. Again, it was Danish Hassan who went around.
Some more trouble for him, but right now a fiercely forward car making Kevin Desnoyers look nervously backwards, unfortunately, as he's going to have to try and get a good launch off of turn 7. Unfortunately, Zavadil seems to have a pretty good run, and he's starting to close in as we watch through the exhaust pipes coming down into the braking of turn 10A, but no, not able to try and initiate a pass this time. So they will stay single file. Haven't really missed much at the front, although at times Reed has been getting close to Janney. I haven't seen any attempts on the lead from De Jong on Michael Janney yet.
Well, if they can continue this at the front, Joe, for another 18 minutes and 40 seconds, I think this would be one of the prettiest photos all year that Carrera Esports will get as we go with Aidan Maytage here in 10th place, looking at Ross O'Connor, and Andrew Caron, who are up there in this group. This is for 8th, 9th, 10th, 11th and 12th currently, as they have formed into this group of 5, and really now this group sets, and look at that, 1, 2 and 3. This is a Carrera paradise.
And right now, Guy Levesque is the one trying to catch up with them, but he's actually split. That is Hassan, who had mentioned earlier, who is between them. I think he's lifting to let him through, but that might not be what Guy wanted, because it's about 1.7 seconds. He almost kind of needed that extra toe so that he could catch up to them.
Yes, it's very tough to get lap traffic to do what you want. It's the toughest thing in the world to get lap traffic to do anything that you quite like them to do. When you want them to be in the middle and holding pace, they don't, and they move over to the side. When you want them to move over to the side, they're in the middle of the road and blocking you. And really, as a driver, it's very tough to deal with. So I think Dinesh Hassan there does the right thing. He moves across. He says, I'm not as quick as the guys in front. I want to go there. Guy Levesque can hang his head down and say, oh, I wish you were just a bit quicker so I could latch on with a tow rope. But that's the problem. He's got to try and do that job to hold 1.7 seconds. And that tow rope, right now, I think he's got a pinky finger on it. Anything less than that, another 1/10 of a second, you can see 1.7, 1.8, that's trouble. Mayo, big battle here. There's the 20, going hard for it. Aaron Johnson with a pass.
So that's going to gift him 27th spot now that he's got that one done. Next on his list going to be Kyle Cesare in the number 11. Aaron's up 2 from where he began this race. There is Kyle just behind Paul Darling in the midst of another of the many trains that we have. They're all kind of split up into these chunks of groups. If you were to look at a track map, Dalton Zavadil with still more action to try and take care of as he's got Denoyers, tries to cut back and gives a little bit of a center punch to that rear bumper.
Well, that was a big punch through the corner. He was trying to cross up Kevin Denoyer, and Denoyer just turned around and went, I've been burnt twice by Jaden Munoz. I'm going to sit in the middle. Now Zavadil here with that very heavy amount of force feedback through his direct drive steering wheel, dealing behind with Aidan Young, who is a very, very accomplished sim racer out there. But Zavadil, after that hit, he's going to have some damage on the front. That's going to push in the front of the car, and he's going to be slightly down on power and a bit of downforce compared to what he would normally be dealing with here. Aidan Young's got a perfectly clean car, advantage to the WSR 71 behind.
See Jordan Ayer also in amongst them in the number 3, sitting in 17th. This is all just to get those last couple of points that all these drivers desperately want to wrap it up. This is for ego at this stage, since only a scant few can automatically move on. Now, they can still qualify from here. We should clarify. It doesn't mean you're out, but an automatic entry in is what everybody wants. From here, it is inconsequential where you finish in the points, other than to put one over on your rival. Nathan Olson, though, currently sitting down in 21st, is just ahead of a change of position I think we had behind them. I think Luke Wallace just overtook Floyd Kerr.
Yeah, so those two make the swap, and Floyd Kerr then sees Luke Wallace go through, but Christian Muniz there, here in 20th position. He's trying to really work hard out there, knowing that he's got the Maradness driver behind, which is the sim racing team of Daniel Morad, who does some brilliant work. He's raced around a lot in the IMSA series, and he's one of those drivers that gets a big name, big reputation for when he's up there and when he's out there and running. So to be under that sort of tutelage for Nathan Olson, it's critical that he builds the block. I would also say, though, Nathan Olson doesn't strike me as a Porsche Cup style driver, as Kevin Denoyer now having to get out the elbows against the likes of Aidan Young. Nathan Olson strikes me more as a prototype style driver, and I think he suits that a lot more. But here comes the chances then along this back stretch through turn number 9 here, this lisking right-hander, and over towards turn 10A. It's better on the brakes then, down on the inside from Aidan Young. Can he pinch that line on the inside? No, but he does get a good half a yard out there as Jordan Ayer now looks to try and bring himself in. Denoyer now out the points.
Wow, it is ever in flux for just this 1 point that now we have multiple drivers fighting for. Currently, Aidan Young is the one who barely clings to it by a fingernail. Denoyer's behind him. Jordan Ayer also in there. Morgan Burkhardt, Caden Middleton, Christian Muniz is in this group, and Nathan Olson. I think we've had our first driver fall victim to the incident limits. Jean-Edouard Maillot has come into pit lane to serve that.
Yeah, it's a black flag penalty that he has picked up as we take a look. 1, 2, and 3 as they go on by. Now, they get 20 incident points to play with, and if you go through that and you go over the top of it, it's then every 5 beyond it. And in fact, Jean-Edouard Maillot is not going to risk that. He is going to retire the car, knowing he's got nothing left to fight for here in the final round. But these 3 musketeers at Carrera Esports will be saying a job well done, a mission accomplished, 2 automatic places in the scrap to go through at that next stage through De Jong and Reed. And Michael Janney, although he isn't going to get an automatic spot, he's proving today he's got pace to work with, as does Gregory Hoverson, who is now pushing here against Manuel Troncoso. Now, we see drivers who pushed early like Troncoso, and he struggles there over the inside curve at 3 going to 4. I think Troncoso realises he pushed so hard in the early stages, he might be looking to save a little bit in the tank. No, he can't get close enough here to Sean Campbell, who's closing in on Guy Levesque.
I remember Campbell mentioned that back at Indianapolis, just holding on to the tires until the end of the race. It is a factor in this style of racing on the sim that you can use too much of them before you get to the end. So right now, Troncoso having to play a defense. Will that cost him a little bit too much rubber? Cade Middleton back in this big group I had just listed off before. Is he going to maybe try and make some moves at some point? As they are almost losing touch with Aiden Young. He's up to half a second ahead. They might reel him in down this back straightaway. But if Aiden can have a good first half of the next lap, he could have a great shot at finally breaking away. But a break down into the 10A chicane results in a little bit of side-by-side contact here with Cade Middleton and Kevin DeNoyer. They're going to be able to get away with that one. Excuse me, Nathan Olson, rather, is the one he made contact with.
Yeah, they just have a little bit of a kerfuffle together. Not really anything too much to write home about. That's what we would call getting the panels out and saying that's Rubbins Racing. Out there, that was a touring car style bit of leaning on each other. So no foul, I would call. That is one of those where you go play on and try and get what you want, like what Kyle Cesare was trying to do up there through turn 2 into 3. Didn't have the confidence to make the move, wasn't far enough alongside, backed out of it there. But you can really throw these tin tops around and say this is what you can do. Nathan Olson now puts himself in the mirror through 6 into 7. Cade Middleton is stuck on that inside, and can he get the drive? No. And does he get the slipstream off the exit? Also no. Welcome to the freight train.
Nathan Olson racing WRL in real life, moves himself up into 19th, still has a ways to go to get into the points, and Middleton is not done with him, although he's going to just fade over to hold him off down the inside. And that will dissuade the 15 from trying to sneak through. That is Christian Muniz sitting behind them, thinking he also has a good shot. The sun continues to set here, not just on the championship, but well, not physically, but literally, I guess we should say, here in the virtual world, as we're going to wrap up in the twilight.
We are, and in the twilight zone, some would feel, trying to find their flow state, and pretty much driving exceptional out there with Nathan Olson. We do have a replay here by the looks of things that we can go and jump to. This is Kevin DeNoyer, who's dropped a couple places. He gets pushed out wide there as he works through the corner, and suddenly there is number 71 Aiden Young down through the S's. Suddenly you've got to find yourself in line, and through at turn 5. Oh, look how much he grabbed the inside, and then he kicks it up. That is all 4 tyres off the road up the hill.
Easy stuff. Unfortunately, it means he does not have the run. He gets absolutely swamped, as that actually kicked off more battling between Olson and Middleton, who seem to be going at it hammer and tongs here at the end. In the meantime, Guy Levesque now sees Sean Campbell firmly in his mirrors. Sean, with this 5th place, I believe, is currently locked in on P3 in the points. So how much does he want to try and risk to get by Guy? Does he sit and wait patiently in this top 5?
Well, Sean Campbell will turn around and look at this and go, I have nothing to fight for here except going to P4. Even if in this scenario he finds himself in trouble, the one issue is if he comes together with Guy Levesque, you know what they do at Coanda, Joe? They see where Sean Campbell is, they will pull the directive, and I wouldn't be shocked to see Mitchell de Jong move over after dominating the race to put Michael Janney in the lead to take the points away. Only in the scenario if Sean Campbell and Guy Levette come together. Guy's got nothing really to fight for with this. He's just not carrying the same amount of pace. But if I'm Sean, I know this game. I just sit on his tail. I don't offer any move. I just say, Guy, you're in the number 44 car. You're in P4. It's fate.
I think you're right that this is big picture racing that a lot of these drivers are doing at this stage. Greg Hoverson, though, is practically pushing Manny through the final corner. These two have also been locked in battle for much of this race. I'm both surprised and not surprised that this track is proved somewhat difficult to pass at.
It has proven difficult because you've only got one great place to pass, really, or two great places, and they come back to back. So it's the run from 7 to 10A, and then the run from 10B over to turn 1. Here through the first half of the lap, you can't make a pass. You're just trying to set up. Wakey, wakey, Gregory, because you know that this is going to be tough, and it's a tiring battle out there. He's been pushing to try and get Manu Troncoso quicker. They're not a million miles off the back of Sean Campbell. It's 9/10 of a second, but it's that sort of race where they've chucked everything they can at it, and while these two aren't going to get what they want from the championship, I turn around, Gregory Hobson's been consistent but not getting the high points results. Manu Troncoso's been closer with those high points results, but he's had two absolute shockers of rounds which have put him out of the top 3 picture.
Something where consistency is such a huge factor in this series. We've seen that with the top runners. Just being able to rifle off those finishes does you a lot of good. Coming down into turn 1, he's certainly not going to get a chance to make an attack quite yet as we head back to Aiden once again, who has got La Charité in behind him, but Ross O'Connor just in front. This is for 9th position that these three are battling. Again, still points pain positions, and if you want to try and maybe finish that little bit higher up at the end of the Porsche Esports Carrera Cup North America first ever season, you've got to try and do something because time is running out.
Yeah, they're going to be down with 5 minutes and 10 seconds, and not even a safety car will save them. We're over 10 minutes past the full course yellow window, and so there's not much that they can do. They are changing about. Oh, trouble, Zavadil in the wall out of 5.
It finally ended in tears. It was such a great fight as well up to that point. I'm not sure what put him in that spot, but he definitely found the wall, it looked like. Oh, even more frustrating. Oh, here we go. Aiden with a look down to the inside, but Ross O'Connor will slam the door shut.
He will, and so Aiden Maytais, if he wants that 9th place, he's going to have to work hard for it. We're into the end game here of the season, and that's all of the road tax used by Ross O'Connor. Maytais then sits behind and knows he's going at 100% for it, and La Charité will feel like he's a little bit in trouble for it. Now, this is Dalton Zavadil, all on his own in that 15th place, mind you. Catches a bit of air, and then just he lands funny there on the rear tyres. Just as the back jumps down, the back steps around. He avoids the wall on the left, but can't do enough to keep it out of the barriers on the right-hand side. That is a real big shame, and I wonder whether he was trying to do a little too much to hold that back into play. Real shame for him. He's not going to score points late, but he will give it to his teammate Jordan Eyre in the number 3.
Yeah, he sat on 3 points, tied with a lot of cars actually coming into this round. Had a chance to try and break away from him. Oh, Morgan Burkhart, the latest to get a black flag, and I believe that is from the sim for incident limits. Yes, it is, as we haven't had any penalties since that 5-second penalty that we mentioned a little bit earlier for qualifying. Aiden getting his elbows out now, and he's going to get a little bit of that back as he almost goes completely off the course. Now everybody scatters to try and find some position into turn 12. Whoa!
Alec Johnson there gets in the back of La Charité. That forces him to go for the move. Side by side, there's contact. O'Connor has to hold the save, and he'll see 1, 2, 3 strikes go through. Burkhart has pulled the car over and retired it, but that was a big save moment there for Ross O'Connor. That's kept him with points.
Your virtual 992.2 has only got to last for just a couple more minutes. You don't need it after this, so they're using every bit of these cars here at the end of the season. Ross O'Connor, unfortunately, finding himself almost elbowed out of the way coming through turn 1. Now up to turn 7. Can he get the launch to try and get back into it as he sizes up Jordan Munoz just in front of him?
Well, he wants Jaden Munoz's position, but Munoz is eyeing up Alex Johnson. He's wanting away here as Jaden to get to P12, and he's got a lovely bit of slipstream here. He might go late to the move to the inside. Johnson outbreaks him, though, into turn 10A, so you're going to have to figure it out another way with Aiden Maytage there. They're down to 2 laps to go out there. La Charité second in that training, what is now 10th position out there. A couple teddy bears short of a picnic if he wanted to get himself that top 3 run. And take a look, because the headlights are on and it's starting to show the shadows. Right now, we are racing into the dark.
Paul Darling, the latest to go over incident limits. He'll have to go serve that one pretty soon, actually, or else he's going to get a pretty hefty time penalty added on as another of our lapped cars pulls away from our top 3. De Jong, Janney, and Reed, the Coanda trio, who have been tough to beat all season. I'm trying to think, have they locked out those top 3 spots at some point this season?
I don't quite know. I don't think they have. We've seen a lot of 1-2s and Michael Janney being a little bit off the pace by comparison, but just looking through Janney and what he's done, the only time Michael Janney's finished on the podium was at Road America. The driver who was third on that occasion was Antoine La Charité. So no, this is the first time as they head to the final lap of this race, Joe, where Coanda Esports have 1, 2, and 3 in this race.
This is what they wanted to try and do. They're putting their stamp on this series as we zoom in on Mitchell de Jong. Started on pole once again. This time, though, he avoided colliding with his teammates, and he is going to go lights to flag if he just brings it home from here. You can see how difficult it is through the S's as the car is still squirming back and forth a bit and using every inch of the road off of turn 5. Just a couple corners to go to finally wrap up the season in what would be 5 wins out of 6 races.
Well, he has driven a really professional drive as Mitchell de Jong, and there is no doubt about it. He's been the best in qualifying trim. He's been the best when it's come to the race. He has had the best racecraft, the best everything, and he is a worthy champion. Xander Reed is a worthy second, and Sean Campbell in 5th, just doing what he needs to. A worthy 3rd place as they hit 10A and 10B for the final time.
An imperious season for Mitchell de Jong. He is going to take nearly every single race by capping it off with a win here in Georgia at Road Atlanta. And he tops a 1-2-3 for Coanda Esports.
Simply put, the greatest spectacle that a team can have as Alex Johnson late. What a battle to the line. They go in the grass between them over the line. Jaden Munoz has beaten Alex Johnson by 0.004 of a second over the line as they had a massive scrap between them to try and get what they could from it. But magical stuff then from everywhere that you look. Carl Cesare still trying to get something late here as we watch this one over to the line. It's a quick finish line at Road Atlanta with Floyd Kerr holding. But what a way to end it. A lovely, clean run of 40 minutes of great, hard-nosed racing here from Road Atlanta, Joe.
And it was Jordan who got that valuable final point that everybody so wanted in the end with that 15th place. So with everybody having finished up, that, of course, concludes our season. But we've got more show to come here as we get ready for our results unofficially for the last race in the Porsche Esports Carrera Cup North America. Mitchell de Jong with another victory over Michael Janney, with Xander Reed finishing 3rd, making the teammates a complete lockout for the podium spots. Guy Levesque was 4th. Sean Campbell with that 5th unofficially also locks himself in the top 3 in points. Xander Reed, of course, with the 3rd does as well, too. Manny Troncoso, so close yet so far. He at least gets a 6 with Hobeson behind him in 7th. Andrew Caron was P8. Aiden Metage was 9th, and Antoine Lacharite rounds out your top 10.
It was a big scramble over to the end of the race where you had these next 3 drivers split by a 10th over the line. Jaden Munoz inching out ahead of Alex Johnson with Ross O'Connor 13th. Aidan Young and Jordan Eyre getting the final points. Nathan Olsen just on the wrong side of it. And Kevin Desnoyer just being bumped back and bumped back and bumped back. Nothing he could do in 17th. He will have Cade Middleton behind him 18th with Christian Moniz 19th. And Floyd Kerr rounding out your top 20.
Kyle Cesare was 21st with Luke Wallace in 22nd. Then it's Aaron Jalson, P23. Managed to gain 6 spots from the start. Not too bad. Floyd Kerr, by the way, was up 13. Meanwhile, we've got Dalton Zavadil, throwing away that 15th place, only 24th. Paul Darling, with his penalty, winds up 2 laps down in 25th. Danish Hassan, 26th. And from there, you get a few drivers DNFing with Morgan Burkhardt in 27th, Aiden Pohl 28th, and George Griffiths 29th. Leonardo Dragata was 30th. And the last few to round out the season was Jean-Edouard Maillot 31st, Anthony Landry 32nd, and Daniel Ferguson in 33rd. So we have our crowned champion, Mitchell de Jong, who we didn't get to chat with last time. So this will be fun to get to hear his thoughts now that he's not only wrapped it up, but he's done it with a victory. Mitchell, first of all, congratulations on the championship. And second of all, congratulations on a 1-2-3 for the team.
Yeah, that's amazing. It's kind of what we had hoped we could accomplish in a few of the other races. And I'm glad we at least got it out of the final race. Yeah, I mean, this is a wonderful race for us. I think we prepared pretty well. I can't believe the pace that all 3 of us had. Super proud of what we had there. So that's awesome. Really clean race for us, just kind of getting through the things. And I'm glad we were able to get some redemption after a bit of drama last week. So yeah, it's been a good season.
Yeah, I was going to say, even though it wasn't perfect, you got to feel pretty good. 5 out of 6. How would you rate this season?
Oh, amazing. I mean, shoot, I would have been so happy just to win one race, and just finish near the podium in the other ones. You just never know with this style of racing, all the draft and just kind of how this car works. Like, the times are insanely close, and the fact that we were able to get ourselves in a good position in qualifying every single round and kind of make the best of every situation is amazing. And yeah, I mean, to have 5 wins, that's ridiculous. So I can't believe that. So I'm just so stoked with how it's gone. Big thank you to our team, to my teammates and everything. The work we put in definitely showed, and I'm really proud of all of them too.
One last question before we let you go. We got to see your visit with Aaron over at Long Beach. Tell us a little bit about that. What was that experience like?
Yeah, that was awesome. Really grateful I got to do that. I mean, it was pretty local for me, just to drive down an hour and a half to get there. That was super cool. I hope everyone liked the video I think was played. And yeah, it was really neat to see these cars in person and kind of, get the tour about what's going on inside of it. Aaron is also super cool to meet, and also great for him to get a couple good results there over the weekend. So yeah, all in all, it was a great experience.
Well, go and savor what has been an impressive run here in the Porsche Esports Carrera Cup North America, and congratulations once again.
Thank you very much.
That was our Victor Mitchell de Jong. In the meantime, I believe you've caught up with Michael Janney here, Jake.
I have, Michael. First time I've had the opportunity to speak to you over the course of the season. I wasn't over at Road America, but it is your second podium, and critically for the team, a 1-2-3 lockout. It starts to certainly look like Coanda are the team to beat when it comes to anything that comes along in these Porsche Cup cars.
Yeah, definitely a good day in the office. Mitchell and Zender are great at putting in prep when I'm away, and I kind of just jump on and ride the horse. I don't really do anything. It's all credit to them, to be fair. Yeah, it's a great day. Championship wise, came just short of third, so a little gutted for that one, but overall happy to podium again finally.
And in terms of looking at that championship, obviously you didn't get the chance to race at Sebring. It didn't go your way at Watkins Glen. But ultimately, it's 4 top 10 finishes, 2 podiums. The building blocks were there for you. What do you think in a field as tough as this, and this is just the United States, what do you think that extra 1% difference could do to you, maybe if you run it back next year or looking to qualify yourself then into the next stage?
Definitely more prep, I think. I put in as much effort as I could, and I think that there's some more effort to put in still, mainly towards qualifying. I think that there's just a little bit of margin I'm leaving on that table. So I think that's where the 1% is, to be honest. Looking forward to maybe some of the summer qualifier stuff. I think that's what I'm going to focus on in between, and I'll just have some fun, drive some officials, and see what happens, I guess.
And in terms of sitting down at a team that officially brings itself really close-knit with Porsche, of course, we take the likes of Josh Rogers, for example, who's out there racing Porsches. You've got the big responsibility from so many of, a stable of drivers who go out there and challenge at the highest level. For you that has come in as now, this is what, your third or fourth year in the team. How critical has this team been in getting you up to that level and saying, look, this is the one of the best teams in the world, and I'm going out there every time with an opportunity to win every time I step behind the wheel?
It's been very eye-opening. I think being surrounded by this caliber of driver is the best thing for me. I think they teach me more than I teach them. So, it definitely has built me up over the years. I had a really good foundation before I came into Kawanda, but I think just the team environment and everything like that, it's truly a great place. Never have thought of moving on. So, hopefully they'll keep me around for a while.
Well, it's the sort of team that very much at the top level, people don't leave Kawanda, and it's very, very telling. Michael Janney then with a great second place finish and a wonderful result to put into play. Joe, I believe you found yourself with the driver in third position overall today, Xander Reed.
Yes, but second in the points by our calculations. Xander, congratulations making the cut on that one. Was it nerve-wracking at all today, knowing that you were technically still vulnerable?
No, we had a lot of good prep in this week with me and Mitchell and Michael near the end, and I felt confident going in. And after qualifying third, I felt good. I wasn't worried. It just drove my race, kept it clean, and just got her done.
Well, it's all you really can ask for. I mean, where do you go from here now, other than obviously to the regional qualifiers, since this does lock you in? Do you take a break to relax? I know we're going to be heading into them relatively quickly, but does this give you a chance to breathe now?
No, work starts tomorrow.
I like that attitude. Ultimately, though, it seems like Kawanda has built itself as a formidable force. Is there anybody that the team is looking over their shoulder at? Is there any fear that you guys feel?
I don't think so. Our job is to just put the work in and let everything take its course. So we just keep our heads down during the week, and when the races start on Saturdays, we just made sure all the work was good.
Again, congratulations not only on a podium, but locking into second, and well done, sir.
Thanks.
Xander Reed in the 77, finishing P3 today. Real quick, since we've talked to two of our three that will be advancing, sounds like Jake has caught up with Sean Campbell, who finished fifth today.
Sean, P5 obviously on the table is a good result. It's not a podium, but today for you, it's the consummate professional result, understanding what's on the table, what you have to do, minimize all the risk. That was a truly, I would say, strong drive from you, given the circumstance.
Yeah, you look at the points, and I really didn't want to scrap with anybody that I didn't need to, which is why I think the start in turn 3 actually went to plan. Starting on the outside in turn 1 is kind of scary, and I know the Kawanda guys are going to want it really bad, so I just not even going to try that. And then Levesque was there as well, and he wanted it, so I was like, just have it. You can have it. It's fine. As long as we can get single file, then we're safe. And so I think that went to plan.
It went to plan. You didn't have to fight. You caught Guy Levesque late and didn't really need to make a move. You had Manu Troncoso behind you trying to chase. You had Gregory Hoverson trying to chase. But ultimately, if you build up the course of what this has been for as a season from you, it has been one where it's just been getting better and better. You haven't had a finish in this championship outside of the points through 6 rounds. That level of consistency, you can struggle to see. And the top 3 are the only real drivers, with the exception of Le Charité, who will be down in 5th in the championship, who have been able to say that. So finding consistent finishes in a field where it can go wrong at the drop of a hat, is that your calling card that you now move to the regional series with and say, look, that's why I'm here and what my skill set brings?
I guess that's the plan as well, yeah. It's just, just survive, basically, right? Don't put yourself in a position where things can be awesome, but things are more likely to not be awesome. So it's like, I've got no reason to race for the wins if I don't need to win to get in. I just have to finish well. And I can do that consistently, hopefully. Road America withstanding, I guess. But yeah, it's just about keeping it in one piece. Even at this level, right? It's just about keeping it in one piece.
And keeping that in one piece, looking to that next stage, how much of that next level are you looking to see the competition bar raise, and how much effort do you think you're going to have to put in for that next phase to get to the Porsche Tag Heuer Esports Super Cup?
I think it's going to be a struggle. I think it's going to get really, really hard, because it's basically contenders, right? It's just renamed, I assume, is how it is. But also, hopefully that means we get a purple license, because I want to grind safety rating again. Safety rating's fun. I'm the only person in the world that thinks safety rating's fun, but I think it's fun. And,
safety rating is fun. So, you know what? Go out there, go celebrate, go have a really good shot at getting that next phase sorted. Sean Campbell there joining us, Joe, getting a P5 today and a P3 in the championship.
It was very cool to hear everybody's thoughts, but let's talk about our thoughts now that we can wrap things up. Personally, I think that we got everything that you could want or expect out of a series like this. We had drama. We had some of the best drivers in the world going wheel to wheel, and nobody willing to give an inch. And I have to say, I'm really pleased to see how the first ever Porsche Esports Carrera Cup North America has played out. Jake, what's your takeaway from these 6 rounds?
Well, I think the takeaway has to be the level of quality that has qualified itself in here, first and foremost, to go for this. We've got some of the best teams in the world putting their North American drivers in and saying, look, we're going to give this a red hot go because we know what the stakes are. We know how strong the battle is. And you can't put the building blocks of being the best in the world until you say you're the best in your own region. I think it goes to show here over the course of a season, the best drivers have been the most consistent. It's not been runaway victories. It's not been easy victories. They've all been difficult wins to try and get. No one's really ran off to a 10, 12, 15-second victory. These are hard yard races that you've got to get, and you've got to be one of the best thinking drivers to go and win. I'm not surprised to see this be a championship that's been so hard fought for. What has surprised me is the difference between being a good driver in this series and a great driver in this series might just be, Joe, the difference of 1/10 of a second per lap.
Yeah, it's been so minuscule, that is for sure. Who knows how tight it's going to be when we get to the regional qualifiers, which will start soon. In the meantime, we want to give a big thank you to not only everybody behind the scenes here, Daniel and Christian, as well as Jake and Dougie, of course, but also to all of our friends at Porsche Motorsport North America for all of their help to get this off the ground. Thank you as well for tuning in. I'm Joe Peak, and until next time, race clean, race hard, and we'll see you on the track.
This is the new 911 Cup, a 520 horsepower flat six purpose-built race car. Redline, nearly 9,000 RPM. Put 20 of them together, you get Carrera Cup, one of the longest running international race series on the planet. Every driver gets the same car, same engine, same aero, and in America, the same Pirelli tire. Modifications, not allowed. So when the green flag drops, there's nowhere to hide. It comes down to the driver. Have racecraft? Good, you're gonna need it. For 30 years, this series has tested the best drivers around the globe. Nailing a lap in one of these, there is no substitute.
This is iRacing.
When we began racing, we started with a question. Can a dream become a legacy? Across endless nights, relentless rain, competition that never slows. Through every failure, every win, every single race, we've asked ourselves, can a dream become a legacy? And 75 years later, the answer is clear. Because we weren't built for racing, we were born for it.